All right, so as you know, we are a film review, analytical, just we sort of dive deeper into the meaning of all these movies. And we all watched The Grand Budapest Hotel recently. Fantastic. Love it, right?
Yeah.
There's so much about it that is great. But one thing that stands out is color, right? Now, my question to you guys is understanding color theory, understanding all of that technical detail really that important to the way that you experience a movie? Or can you just still have fun watching a movie without that extra layer of depth to it?
Oh, you can definitely have fun regardless. Whether you actually look at the colors and try to depict the meaning of them or not. Like just watching Grand Budapest Hotel just to watch it, you're still gonna have a great time. You don't need to know the meaning of the pink walls and the purple suits and all that.
It's pretty base color theory that you kind of just get. Like it's
Yeah.
watching any other movie, like red, anger, blue, sadness, or freedom or whatever. It's like just base stuff. But when you're watching it, it kind of just automatically clicks, right? I guess
Yeah.
that's what color theory is. Like it just the emotions that come to you, so you don't necessarily understand them, but you just feel them, right? If you know color theory, you understand it, understand how you're feeling. But obviously, the director's gonna be choosing these kind of like colors and images and stuff to play with your emotions. So I think understanding it doesn't play a huge role, but it helps you understand what the director is trying to do.
Yeah, no, because it's one of those things that like for us, we notice these things immediately, right? We're always just it's so common for us because we watch so many movies for the channel, and it's just natural, right? And for me, I think like genuinely, you guys are on the right track for sure. Like you don't need to know it, but it's sort of you can't not notice these things, right? It's almost impossible not to start to connect the dots when you're watching a movie. And my next question to you guys is: when you watch all these movies and you're understanding of all these colors and the theory behind it of why we do it for movies, is it something you start to notice outside of the movie going experience? Right? Is it something that you walk outside and you go, ah, that person's wearing blue? Or is it something that you don't want to, but because you're so used to it now, it starts to seep into your everyday life?
Kind of honestly, but it's mostly with ads. Like with any advertisement or stuff like that, like any food, you're always gonna see like yellow, red. It's all that stuff that they know. It's like it's gonna increase your appetite, right? So it's like companies using colors to basically entice you to do what they want. It's the same reason why some people like to wear red. Red really entices like other peoples of the opposite sex usually to want to gravitate towards that person. So it's like it's the colors that you wear, but sometimes they're very subconscious.
For ads and stuff, it's kind of related to the whole movie TV shows because they're trying to get you to feel a certain way about their product. But when it comes to just like everyday clothing, like you just mentioned, he's wearing a red hoodie. I know he's not mad because there's context behind it. It's a Washington Capitals hoodie. We just made the playoffs. So like we're going a bit too deep now where clothing, yes, it can, I guess, but not necessarily. It's definitely not something I notice like day to day walking downtown. Just, oh, blue, he's sad. Like, no.
You brought up a really good point about it's a lot of subconscious, sort of like we don't think about it too much in our daily lives, but it does attribute to the way we might feel about something, darker colors for different moods and whatever it is. And one of the things I want to talk about from the Grand Budapest Hotel, since that's the movie that we watched for this week, is yeah, there's a lot of color theory in it, but it's done really subtly compared to, let's say, La La Land, where we watched a couple of weeks ago and we talked about different things. We didn't touch on color because it's really popular. Everybody's already heard everybody's take on it. But that's a movie that is in your face. You can't really miss it. But I feel like Wes Anderson does a really good job of just sort of subtly adding those elements of color theory without overdoing it.
He loves contrast, right? If you look at Grand Budapest, they're all wearing different colored compared to the background to stand out. Certain characters will stand out more than others in certain scenes. Like there's the elevator scene when he's going down with I forget the old lady's name, but the woman who gets killed. Like she's wearing all red in a red elevator, showing that she's like not as important in this moment at the hotel, but all the staff members are wearing purple. That jumps out compared to the red. So like it's more subtle, but I don't know, he does it in such a way that like it feels so natural.
It's like stuff in the background that I find, if you really start to pay attention, it's the colors in the background that make you feel a certain way. With this movie in particular, I find, because like the hotel is a great example because that's where most of like the stuff is happening, and you have a lot of colors. But when they're speaking, you'll see a certain color in the background that will kind of go along with the theme or what's going to happen later. But you don't notice it if you don't pay attention to it because you're mostly looking at the main characters, right? If you're really looking at the background, you'll see the colors, but it's like it's in the back, right? You don't notice the colors right away. Sometimes you do because they're bright, but it's more just to push you in the right angle if you know what it's supposed to mean.
if you look at anything else that Wes Anderson has done, you look at Asteroid City. I mean, same theory, same idea. He has a unique way of looking at color, I think, compared to other directors. I don't think it's super easy to do color. I think some directors sometimes just kind of ignore it completely. I feel like maybe even some of the early 2000s, is a little bit, especially with the way cameras were as well, it's a little harder sometimes. We've come a long way in technology, so now all the colors, everything just comes through without any issue. So it's sort of this evolution of sort of the general audience isn't thinking about it, to maybe nowadays it's more thought about as they watch a movie, as something maybe they are more realizing. The general viewer is more in tune and smarter now when they go to watch a movie. So these things are, directors have to think about it when they release a film.
But there's still a lot of directors that really, I don't want to say don't care about the colors they use, but they just choose to not add that extra element, which doesn't necessarily take away from a movie, but it just makes the movie going experience just like a bit less enticing, let's say. Like when you see a trailer for a Wes Anderson movie, you see all the colors and you see all the symmetry that all lines up, and it makes you want to go see it, to see, oh wow, this is really cool, I like visually what I'm seeing, so you will go watch it. But other directors just make it a bland color palette, so it's kind of just like, yeah, story might be good, but visually it doesn't catch your eye, so you might not want to go see it.
I know what you mean, but I feel like to a certain extent, every single director is doing some type of color theory, right? Even though it's very basic, at least every director is doing some type of it. Like if you even just look at like a Christopher Nolan movie or whatever, like you'll see sometimes just a brooding blue, or brooding, like just, it's like darkness, and like even though darkness is not necessarily a color, it still like impacts the way you feel about it. It's like it's not necessarily, I find, something that directors necessarily pay a lot of attention to, like you said, but it's definitely there, and
it's still present for sure.
Yes. But Wes Anderson does an incredible job, especially with this movie, The Grand Budapest. Oh my God, color's great.
We talk about obvious examples, La La Land, Grand Budapest, Joker is a big one that comes up as well. I want to bring up, well, kind of hard not to think about it since it's right behind Will, but I want to ask you about Oppenheimer, because it is one of those movies that it is very, very subtle, actually. It's not in your face, and honestly, I didn't think about it too much while I was watching the movie. Because it's just, it's just there, colors in everything we watch nowadays. We're not, in the early stages of cinema where it's black and white. So I don't know what you guys thought, if their representation or their use of color was even thought about, because you talked about Nolan, right? So what do you think?
I find for Oppenheimer, it was more so the color of what he was wearing, which, I mean, it's what he used to wear. Because I mean, it's hard to do Oppenheimer because it's a biopic, right? Because most of the colors that they use were colors that were actually there during the time period of Oppenheimer. But like the colors that he was wearing, I'm pretty sure they said that he always wore like a pale blue dress shirt. It's like those kind of colors. I find it's not necessarily color theory, but just more accuracy to the like what was really happening. But I didn't really feel like there was much of it going around. But obviously they chose their colors right, to have like a strong impact on knowing how accurate it was. But I don't know if the colors were used in a way to basically entice your emotions.
I mean, he did it a tiny bit, but it's not like Grand Budapest and La La Land level. Like, I'm pretty sure Jean's dress or jacket is yellow in the first few times they meet, to show like, oh, interest, happiness, he's going towards this person.
Yeah, no, I mean, Oppenheimer's a great example, Best Picture winner, and it doesn't really follow that one for one, color, theory that we were talking about here today. But, it's goes for a lot of the movies. It's, it's just something that when it's done right, it's very noticeable to the viewer, and it adds that extra layer of emotion, especially. That's really where, color is used, obviously, so the more directors can use it, and the more that they do it the right way, because you can do it the wrong way for sure, then it's an overall better experience for us as we go to the movies. And I like it.
Color is huge, and just as you, Alex, I love it, and I'm pretty sure like most people out there, they can see a very pleasing, like when the cinematography is good in a movie, you just go there, you can sit and enjoy it, even if, for example, the story is not, for example, incredible. You can still enjoy it for the visuals. Like I'm not gonna say like Dune is like a bad story, but it's like
But the
the
visuals.
visuals is what
Yeah.
it's the most phenomenal part of the film, right? The cinematography, the visuals, and like the colors in it is like crazy, crazy, crazy. So like going to the movies and seeing a beautiful film on there definitely is like a driving point for going to the actual movies. I enjoy it.
We talked a lot about music as well. It's just like another aspect that just, it's in the background. Not a lot of people will like pay particular attention to it or notice it that much, but it just makes the experience that tiny much better, you know?
So there you have it. Color theory is an extremely important part of the movie going experience. Like we said, not all directors are looking at it, but when you have someone like Wes Anderson looking at it and Damien Chazelle, I mean, when you do it right, it really adds to the going experience of watching a movie. So I implore you guys to look out for that when you're watching your favorite movies and just enjoy them for what they are. It doesn't take away; it adds to the story itself. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It's a little bit different from what we usually do. If you have any more interest in maybe more La La Land, we have other episodes on the channel. Go check them out, and we'll see you guys in the next one.